everybody, this video is going to be a little bit different than my usual videos. I wanted to stop and say just thank you so much for watching all my videos this year. I am sort of like a new YouTuber. I've only been doing this for about a year, and I'm just so thankful for all of you guys that have sat and watched my videos, who have liked, who have commented, who have given me tips, which is crazy. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I'm so thankful for all the tips and all of the encouraging words that you guys have given me throughout the last year and a half. Thank you so much. I have over 9,000 subscribers. I am so close to 10,000, and I obviously could not have done it without you guys. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And so today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a montage of all of my favorite recipes in the year 2023. I have done so many different videos, and so today I just wanted to share with you some of my favorite meals. So I have 20 of my favorite meals that I know you guys are going to love. Let's get started. To start us off, we're going to be making some creamy tacos. This is one of my favorite meals to make, especially if I'm in a hurry. I'm just going to ground up 1 pound of ground beef until it is nice and cooked through. And then I'm going to release all of the grease. Make sure there's none left over because you really don't want this any greasy. Once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and add some taco seasoning, just about 1 ounce. And you don't have to add any water to it. Once you have that nice and stirred through, we are going to add 1 can of Rotel and then 1 can of Fiesta nacho cheese. This is one of those meals that you can kind of add a bunch of different things to make it taste even better. I'm also going to be adding 1 can of chili beans. And then 1 can of dark red kidney beans, and then I'm just going to give that a good stir. And if you want, you can add like some queso instead of that Fiesta nacho cheese. You can also add some black beans, that would be delicious as well, or even some green chilies. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of sour cream, giving that a good stir, and you're just going to let this kind of simmer until it's nice and warm and cook through, and then it's ready to go. And I just like putting this on top of some crushed chips. Some tortilla chips are the best to do this. And then once you have a good layer of that mix right on top of those chips, you can actually put just a little bit of shredded cheese on top of that. And then you just mix this up, and it is so good and so easy. It is done in 15 minutes or less. Next, we're going to be making some teriyaki chicken in the crock pot. So I'm going to start off by using 1/2 cup of soy sauce, 1/4 cup of cold water, 1/4 cup of honey, 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, 2 teaspoons of sesame oil, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of ginger, 2 teaspoons of garlic. And then I'm going to go ahead and give that a stir. And if you guys want to add in some sesame seeds, that would be wonderful in this dish as well. And then once you get that all combined, you definitely want to give that a good mix. And then I'm just going to add drumsticks. You guys can add whatever type of chicken you want. I usually would prefer chicken thighs, but I just have some chicken legs today, so that's what I'll be using. So I'm just going to place that into my crock pot, and I'm going to let this cook on a low heat for about 5 hours. I just want to make sure that those legs get nice and cooked through. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and take all those out, and I'm going to thicken my sauce just a bit. You can add cornstarch to this mix, or you can add, I like to use xanthan gum. That's just more of like a healthier option that doesn't have like all the carbs to go with it. It's definitely whatever you guys prefer. So that's what you see me doing here, is I am just thickening this up to the best that I can. You guys don't have to do this, and you can definitely add more. I did not want a super thick sauce, but usually when making like anything like teriyaki or anything like that, it's usually a little bit of a thicker sauce, but mine's kind of in the middle. It's not super thick, but it's not super thin either. And then I went ahead and put all those chicken legs back in there to let it soak up into that thicker sauce. right, and once I let that kind of sit in there for about 10 minutes, and then I took it out and I served this with some sweet potatoes, some green beans, and with the chicken, I also had like a little bit of some squash as well. This turned out really, really good. The chicken was absolutely delicious, and it was very, very tender. Such a good and hearty meal. How's the chicken?
It's really good, but I have a bone right here to stick mommy.
You have a bone?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have a bone to pick with mommy?
Stick to mommy.
To stick to mommy. Okay.
Yeah.
Next, I'm going to be making some chicken burrito bowls in the crock pot. So I have 1.5 pounds of chicken breast that I'm just layering in onto my crock pot at the very bottom. Just kind of layering so that they will cook evenly. So that's what you see me doing here. And then I'm going to add 1 ounce of taco seasoning just right on top of those chicken breasts. 1 can of diced tomatoes. 1 can of chicken broth, just a small like 14-ounce can of chicken broth. 1 can of drained corn. And then 1 can of black beans that I had rinsed off. And then I'm just going to use a spoon to kind of mix that together just a bit. Put the lid on. I'm going to let this cook on a high heat for about 2 hours, or you can let this cook on a low heat for about 4 to 5. And those chicken breasts would be nice and tender. So I'm just going to go ahead and take those out so that I can shred them up. Once I have that shredded, I'm going to go ahead and place that back into my crock pot, and then I'm going to give that another good mix. All right, and I already had some rice going into my Instant Pot because that's how I always make some rice. And I'm just going to put this mixture right on top. And this is what it looks like. And then I'm also going to top this with some cheese and some sour cream. Also just a tiny bit of salsa. These make the perfect chicken burrito bowls. These are so, so good. One of my favorites for something super simple and easy to make. You like it?
It is super good.
Yeah. How about you, baby girl? Liking it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like it? You liking it? So good. Now we're going to be making some lasagna soup, so I'm just going to be using a little bit of bacon grease so that we can cook our onions. I chopped up about half of an onion, and now I'm just placing that into our skillet. And I'm just going to cook that for just a couple minutes. I don't want it completely cooked, but just a little bit, just to make it a little bit on the tender side. Once those have been cooking for just a couple minutes, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of garlic and give that another good stir. And then I have 1 pound of mild Italian sausage. You guys could definitely add more of a spicier one, but this is about all my family could handle because it ended up being a little bit on the spicy side for my kids once it was all done cooking. So I'm just going to go ahead and ground that up and drain off any excess grease. And then I'm just going to put this at the very bottom of my crock pot. I'm going to add 32 ounces of chicken broth to this. 2 cans of diced tomatoes. And a small 4-ounce can of tomato paste. half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, half a teaspoon of thyme, half a teaspoon of rosemary. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give that a really good stir. Just want to make sure that all that seasoning is well combined in our soup. Once everything is combined, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on, and I let this cook on a high heat for about 5 hours. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put in 8 strips of lasagna. I don't know if this is going to be all that I'm going to need, but I'm going to put in about 8 strips, and I'm going to go ahead and crumble them in here. You guys can avoid using up a pan and doing it this way. I'm just kind of in a hurry. We need to eat. Or you can wait 30 to 45 minutes and put it in here on high and let it cook that way. It's kind of whatever you guys prefer. And it's definitely a lot easier if you just go ahead and put these into the crock pot. You can kind of turn your crock pot on high and let these cook in the crock pot for about 30 minutes. But I was just more in a hurry because I didn't know if it'd be 30 minutes or closer to an hour, and I was just really trying to get dinner on the table as fast as I could. So I just put them in some boiling water instead and just kind of crush them up that way. And then once all of these noodles are al dente, I'm just going to go ahead and place them back into my crock pot. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and give that another good stir. Just want to make sure that those noodles are well combined with everything else. And then you can serve this with just some cheese on top. I just did some Parmesan cheese on top, and it turned out really, really good. This is definitely one of those meals that are so easy to make, especially like on a Sunday. And you can just have the dinner ready to go in the crock pot within about 5 hours. And it is just absolutely delicious and super easy to make. What do you think, Addie girl? Do you like it? Good.
Hot though.
Yeah. Okay.
About me.
I just did you. Okay. How do you like it?
It's good.
Okay. Okay, for corn chowder, I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 can of cream and mushroom soup at the very bottom of my crock pot. Soups are one of those things that are super easy to make in the crock pot, so typically that's where I will make most of my soups. I'm going to add 2 cups of milk and then 1 teaspoon of parsley, and then go ahead and give that a good stir. Just want to make sure that that cream and mushroom soup is well combined with that milk. And then I'm going to add half of an onion that's been diced up, about 4 to 5 baby red potatoes, and then about a cup of ham, and then 1 12 to 16 ounce bag of corn, 1 can of cream of corn, and then you're going to go ahead and give that a good stir. And then I thought I was done, but I forgot my butter. You definitely want to add 3 tablespoons of butter to this as well. And then put the lid on, and you're going to let this cook on a high heat for about 4 to 6 hours. And then this is what it's going to look like after it's done. It is super, super good, and it's very easy to make, and it's very creamy as well. Up next is a Southwest chili, and this is one of my favorite ways to make chili. It is so, so good, and it's also found in a cookbook that I have in my house that I absolutely love, and I'll have it linked in my description box if you guys are interested. But it's just like a slow cooker cookbook, and I love it so much. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to add about 1 cup of diced up onions, and you're just going to let that cook for a couple minutes. And then you guys can do, I like to do breakfast sausage all the time for chilies, but this time I just did some ground beef. So you need 1 to 2 pounds of ground beef, and then you're going to go ahead and put that at the very bottom of your crock pot. All right, and then you're going to put 1 cup of chicken broth, 1 can of chili beans, 1 can of diced tomatoes, and then then 1 can of like an Italian style of tomatoes, or like chili ready tomatoes, 1 can of black beans, and then 1 can of corn. Also, you can put in 1 can of Rotel. And then I have 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then I have half a tablespoon of chipotle seasoning. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give that a really good stir. And I actually ended up using a little bit more liquid at the very end after it was done cooking. So definitely keep that in mind. I would definitely probably do at least 2 cups of chicken broth. And then I'm going to let that cook on a high heat for just a couple hours. 2 hours is all the time that you need. But if you want to put this on low, you can do 4 hours as well. And then once it's done cooking, you can put some sour cream and cheese right on top of that. It is so good. You guys are not going to want to make chili any other way. This one is top notch. Up next is some chili that I like to make if I'm being super frugal, because I like making this chili with just some sausage because it's way cheaper than adding any type of like hamburger beef or anything like that. So if I'm trying to save some money, then I will definitely do sausage. And actually my husband prefers it when I do the sausage, just because breakfast sausage is so much more flavorful. So I'm just going to go ahead and ground up 2 pounds of sausage. And then I have 1 cup of diced onion, and then I also have just a little bit of some like orange bell pepper, just because I had that in my fridge and I wanted to get rid of that. But the peppers add so much flavor. I love making chili with peppers in it. It's so good. So I'm just going to go ahead and combine all that together and cook that up. And then I'm just going to add just a little bit of minced garlic, just maybe about a tablespoon, giving that a good stir. And then I have 1 can of tomato sauce I'm going to add. Two cans of chili beans. And then 1 can of diced tomatoes, giving that another really good stir, getting that all well combined. And instead of using the packets of chili seasoning, I'm actually just going to put in some seasonings that I have on hand. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of chili seasoning, just a little bit of pepper. I add about half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And then just maybe 1/4 teaspoon of some salt. And then I'm adding just a little bit more garlic powder. And then maybe about 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and giving that a really good stir. I just kind of eyeballing it, because with those seasoning packets, they're kind of expensive. So I like to a lot of times just do the seasoning myself, because I usually have all the seasonings on hand anyways. And now at the very end, I'm also adding 1 more can of tomato sauce. With using 2 pounds of meat, I never know if I need 1 or 2 cans of sauce. So I just kind of eyeball it and see where I'm at. But it looked like 2 cans was about right for my chili here. And then once I let this simmer for about 10 minutes, it is ready to go for us to eat. Now we're going to be making some tortilla lasagna. So to the bottom of my cast iron skillet, I'm going to add 1 pound of ground beef and just give that a good stir, making sure that we're cooking that all the way through, and then we'll drain off any excess grease. I'm just going to use a paper towel to get all the excess grease off. I kind of like using this as like a lazy way. Instead of using my colander, I just like to do it this way. Just seems a little bit on the easier side. And then I'm going to add 1 cup of water, and then 1 ounce of taco seasoning, and I'm going to give that a really good stir, getting that well combined. And then I'm going to add half a teaspoon of garlic powder, giving that another really good stir. 1 can of black beans. Just make sure that you drain and rinse off everything, and then add that to your mixture here. And get that well combined as well. And then I'm just going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to make some type of like sour cream mixture. So I need 1.5 cups of sour cream to my bowl. I'm also going to add 1 tablespoon of chili powder. And then I'm going to give that a good stir. I'm also going to be adding 1.5 cups of shredded cheddar cheese, or like a Fiesta blend would be really good as well. Giving that another good stir. And then we're going to take our tortillas and we're just going to lay them at the very bottom. I'm going to start off by using 3 tortillas. I'm just using a 9x13 pan, and so I'm layering my tortillas, and then I'm going to go ahead and put that sour cream mixture. I'm going to split everything into thirds, so I'm only going to use about 1/3 of that mixture for the very bottom layer. Once you have that nice and even, you're going to go ahead and take your ground beef mixture, and you're going to just take about 1/3 of that as well and layer that right on the bottom there. We're going to take our salsa and just 1/3 of that as well, and just kind of make that as even as you possibly can. And then just this very fine layer of cheese just right on top of that. And then you're going to do that 2 more times so that you have 3 even layers of tortillas. Now for the second layer, I only did 2 tortillas instead of 3. I just figured that would work out a little bit better. And then I'm going to cook that in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 to 45 minutes. And this is what it's going to look like after it's done. It is so good. I love the layers in here. It's like a really nice lasagna feel, but also giving that Mexican blend. And then also if you want to do some like Mexican rice, we just did tortilla chips and salsa with ours. One of me and my family's favorites is French onion burgers, so we're going to be making this with sausage instead of ground beef. Typically I would make this with some ground beef, but I wanted to make this a little bit more budget friendly. So once that's all cooked up, I'm going to take 1 can of French onion soup mix, and I'm just going to put that right on top. I'm going to give that a good mix, and you can definitely thicken this with some cornstarch or some xanthan gum. I just left it be kind of how it is. And just let this simmer for just a couple minutes, 5 minutes at the max. And then while this was cooking, I actually made some French fries in the oven, and we're going to have that on the side as well. And so I'm just going to take some hamburger buns and place this right on top, and then add just a little bit of cheese. Typically we would add American cheese, but I had some mozzarella that I needed to use up, so that's what I placed right on top. And that is it. That is so simple. It only takes like 15 minutes to make these. These are so easy. Next is one of my favorite things to make, and that is white chicken spaghetti. So I'm just going to cook up about 16 ounces of spaghetti noodles, and I'm going to cook that till al dente. And then once that's all cooked through, I'm just going to put that at the very bottom of a 9x13 pan, and I just added about 1.5 cups of rotisserie chicken. I just wanted to make sure that those the rotisserie chicken was nice and shredded, like really small pieces, so that every bite you're going to get just a little bit of some chicken. And then I put in just about 1 ounce of taco seasoning right on top of that. 1 can of cream of chicken soup. One can of Rotel, and then about 1/2 cup of sour cream, and then I went ahead and gave that a really good stir. All right, and then I just top this with like a pasta style of cheese. So I think it's like provolone and Parmesan cheese, also mixed in with some mozzarella. And I did have my kids kind of helping me put all the cheese right on top and making sure that it's nice and level. I ended up using all of this bag, so about 8 ounces of cheese right on top of that. And then I cooked this in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. This is what it's looking like. Oh, so good. I love, love, love this meal. It is so good. And it's really good to have with like some garlic bread or some peas or some corn. It's so, so delicious. My heart just loves spaghetti so much. Next, we're going to be making this pumpkin cake, and we're going to be making it with like a cream cheese frosting. So to the bottom of my bowl, I'm going to add that butter pecan baking mix. You can also add a spice cake mix, so that's why I'm adding cinnamon, just because I didn't do like a spice cake. And then I'm going to be adding 1 can of pumpkin, and then I'm going to give that a really good stir. Okay, and then at the bottom of my pan, I'm going to go ahead and spray that. And then I'm just going to add this cake mix right at the very bottom. And then I'm just going to even it out so it's nice and level so that we can cook it properly. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and toss that in the oven at 350 for about 40 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and to a medium bowl. We're going to get started on the frosting. So I need 1 package of cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of softened butter so that we can mix that properly. Give that a good mix. Make sure that that butter and cream cheese is mixed in properly. And then we're going to put in just a little bit of some vanilla. I usually don't measure because the more the merrier. But I add about half a teaspoon of vanilla. And then we need about 3 cups of powdered sugar. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time, because if I add it all at the same time, the powdered sugar is going to go everywhere and it's going to cause a huge mess in my kitchen. So I'm just adding a little bit at a time. And then once I add all 3 cups, it's going to be super creamy. It's going to be pretty fluffy as well. But you're definitely going to want a nice and beautiful cream cheese topping for this cake. And so you definitely don't want to add this cream cheese mixture until your cake is completely cooled, or else it's going to kind of melt on top. So now that my cream cheese mixture is done, I'm just going to go ahead and put this right on top, making a nice and lovely frosting for our cake. This is so good. These could also be like pumpkin bars. You can kind of chop them up to be more of like into a bar. These are so good. So good. You guys are really gonna like these. These are definitely more for like fall time, which is when we made these. So this is definitely one of those recipes that you want to make in the fall. So delicious. Next, we're going to be making a apple cobbler. This is more of like a dump and go. So what we're going to need is 2 sticks of butter that we're going to go ahead and melt. And I just did that in the microwave. We're going to get our 9x13 pan. We're going to lightly grease that first. And then we're going to take 2 cans of apple pie filling and we're just going to put that at the very bottom of our pan. I'm just going to layer this so that it's nice and even because we're going to be putting some cake mix right on top of this. Alright, once you have smushed down all of your apples, we're actually going to be putting in just a little bit of caramel. I put in half of this bag, and that is plenty. Trust me, guys, you do not want to add all of this caramel because the caramel spreads and it's very caramel. You can definitely taste the caramel flavor in it. So you just need half of this bag, and you're just going to spread them out so that they're nice and even. You're just going to take a white cake mix and put that right on top of your caramel apples. Alright, and now that is nice and even, I'm going to go ahead and put all of that butter just right on top. Just trying to make it as even as you possibly can. And that is it. I placed this in the oven at 350 for about an hour, and this is what it's looking like after it's all done. It is nice and golden brown on top. It is so good, and you're going to want to make sure that you have some ice cream because this goes perfectly with some vanilla ice cream, which is what we did. This was a showstopper. It was so good. I was so impressed with it that I actually made it for Thanksgiving this year as a dessert for my family. Everybody was raving about it. It was so delicious. So I love the caramel flavor in it. That just kind of made it even better. But I'm pairing this with some vanilla ice cream. Oh, so good. You guys are going to love this one. Up next are these cookie bars. So I need 2 sticks of butter to the bottom of my bowl, and then half a cup of brown sugar, half a cup of granulated sugar, and then I'm just going to go ahead and give that a good mix until it is nice and creamy. Next, I'm going to go ahead and crack 2 eggs and put that right into our mixture. Also 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then give that another good stir. Now that that is well combined, I have 3 cups of flour, and then I'm going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then I have some salt, so I have 1 teaspoon of salt as well. Now I just need to give that another good stir. I'm going to set that to the side, and I'm going to bring our mixture back, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that flour mixture, just a little bit at a time. I don't want all of that in there at the same time. That flour is going to go everywhere, and I just want to slowly get this combined. And so by the time that I add all of that mixture, it's really, really thick. So it's too thick that I can't even use that electric mixer anymore. So I'm just going to use a spoon and try to get the rest of that combined. Now that it's combined, I'm going to go ahead and add our M&Ms. So I need 3/4 a cup of M&Ms. 1 cup of chocolate chips, and I have my kids helping me do this meal, this recipe. They love baking, so of course they're going to want to chime in on this meal. And then I have just a little bit of sprinkles. I needed about a half of a cup, but I just had maybe closer to a third of a cup of sprinkles. And now I'm just going to give that another really good stir, and it is very, very thick. So if you know that it's really, really thick, then you know that you're doing it right because it definitely is supposed to be pretty thick. So now I have a 9x13 pan, and I just lightly greased it. I'm just going to put this mixture right at the very bottom, and I'm just going to kind of smush it all together to make sure that it's nice and level and even. All right, and then once it's nice and level, I'm gonna go ahead and just add just a little bit of M&Ms on top just to give it this nice little festive look. I'm gonna put this in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. This is what it's looking like after it's all done. This is so, so good. My kids wanted me to make it like over and over again throughout the year because they just loved this dessert so, so much. It was just so moist on the inside. The cookies were just absolutely delicious. They liked this better than like a regular cookie. They loved this dessert so much. And this is even something that you can pair with some ice cream and it'd be really good as well. Next, we're going to be making some beef enchiladas. So I just need 1 pound of ground beef, and I'm just going to chop that up and get that all cooked through properly. And this is something that you can kind of doctor up how you would like it as well. If you want to add some onions to it, that's perfectly fine too. I just didn't for this meal. I'm going to go ahead and drain off any excess grease, and then I'm going to add our taco seasoning right to that. So I just have 1 ounce of taco seasoning, and I'm just going to mix that together, and you don't have to add in the water. Usually the taco seasoning packets will say to add just like a little bit of water, but we're going to be adding some enchilada sauce. I have about 10 ounces of enchilada sauce in this can that we're going to add to it. So it's going to get that liquid from that. So now I'm just going to give that a good stir. I'm going to put in about a half a cup of cheese. I just used whatever was left in this Mexican blend packet. And then I have 1 can of black beans that I have already rinsed and drained off all of the excess water. And so now I'm going to give that another good stir. This is something that you can actually add some like rotel to, and some corn. Also some green chilies would be really good as well. And I'm just going to roll up about 8 different tortillas. Usually it makes between 6 and 10. I think this made about 6 different ones. And then I'm just going to put another can of enchilada sauce just right on top of that. Right, and then once you've done that, then you can just top it with a little bit of cheese. I added about another probably 3/4 of a cup of cheese right on top of that, and then I put mine in the oven at 375 for about 30 minutes. This is what it looks like. I like to cook it until like the very ends are nice and crispy. This is so good. This is one of my family's go-to meals. We love having beef enchiladas. And then I just topped it with some sour cream. And then we had some tortillas, chips as well with some salsa and queso. I meant to make some Mexican cheese, but I totally forgot this day. But that would be lovely as well. So this is what it looks like. It was so, so good. Next, we're going to be making a taco pizza. So I'm going to take my ground beef, and just like the other one, we're just going to cook this up until it's nice and cooked through. And this is something that you can do with onions as well. With a taco pizza, some onions would be lovely. I got all the excess grease off by using this paper towel just because I wanted it to be quick and easy this day. Now I'm going to go ahead and add 1 ounce of taco seasoning. And then giving that another good stir. right, and to a cookie sheet, I'm going to go ahead and use this pizza crust instead of making my homemade one. Sometimes I do my homemade one, but sometimes I just need to just click that easy button and get it done as fast as I can, because my days are just so busy every day that sometimes I just need to click that easy button. So I just use this canned pizza dough, and I'm just spreading it out because it's pretty thick. It comes out of the can really thick. And then I'm going to use like this taco sauce and just pour the taco sauce right on top of that dough. I'm going to make sure it's nice and even, so I'm just going to spread that out the best that I can. And then I have our ground beef that I'm just going to put right on top of that. If you guys want to add any type of toppings, I know a lot of people like to put like black olives on top of it as well, some onions and different stuff like that. I just topped mine with some cheese and called it good. But if I were to do this again, I would have cooked my pizza dough for about 5 minutes before putting all of the different toppings on it. But you can do it this way as well. And then I cooked this in the oven at 400 degrees for about 10 minutes, and it was done. The dough is completely cooked through, and then I just topped it with a little bit more cheese. And that is it. We had this like spicy ranchero sauce, which is really good, but it is a little bit on the spicy side. So I think next time I'll just kind of put a little bit of water in it to kind of dilute it a little bit. That way it's not so spicy for my kids. And then that is it. We had like some sour cream on top of ours. So good. My family loves taco pizza. I think they like it more than just like a regular pizza. It is so delicious. Another simple and easy meal to make are these cheeseburger sliders. So I'm just going to use 1 pound of ground beef, and this is something that you definitely want to double if you have more people in your house, or if you have like teenagers, because this was the perfect amount for us. But if my kids get a little bit older, we're gonna have to double this recipe for sure. So I have also some diced onion, just about half a cup of diced onion that I'm going to mix with this ground beef, and I'm just going to cook this up until it is nice and cooked through, and the onion should soak up most of that grease. So I'm just going to add half a teaspoon of pepper and then half a teaspoon of salt, but you definitely don't have to add that salt because it is pretty salty. As I was eating, I was like, man, this is kind of salty, so you definitely don't have to. And then you can also add about 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce. That's going to make this even more delicious to where it's even more of like that cheeseburger flavor that you're kind of after. So now we're going to take our sliders and we're just going to cut them in half. And I'm just going to flip it over, and I'm just going to spray my 9x13 pan. We're going to put these rolls right on the bottom of this pan. And then we're going to take that beef mixture and we're just going to put it right on those rolls, just everywhere. I'm trying to go a little bit slow just because I don't want the ground beef to go everywhere. I'm wanting it to stay right on those rolls. Alright, so now that we have all that ground beef mixture where I'm wanting it, I'm going to take about 1.5 cups of sharp cheddar cheese, and I'm just going to put that right on top. I'm going to give it that good cheese mixture. You can definitely add some sliced cheese if that's easier for you guys. And then we're going to put the lid on and put all those rolls right on top. And then I have just a couple tablespoons of butter, and I'm just going to lightly butter all of these rolls, and you can definitely make like a garlicky mixture with this butter. It's whatever your preference is. I just did butter this time just to be simple. I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes. This is what it looks like after they're done cooking. My family loved this meal, and we just had it with some potato chips and some tortilla chips. Also, you can do some fries. There's so many different varieties which you can do with this. Half of my family had fries. Half of us had like some like tortilla chips and whatever kind of chips I found in my pantry. So it's definitely whatever you want. And you can also put pickles on this if you guys kind of like the pickle like flavor. I'm not too big on pickles. I love pickles on the side, but not like on my cheeseburgers or any like sandwich whatsoever. But anyways, and then we just had it with some fries, and that was it. This was so simple to make. All right, up next is this Monterey Jack Bubble Up. This was so good, and we made this during Thanksgiving time to have with some leftovers. So you're going to need 2 cans of biscuits, and you're just going to chop them up and put them at the bottom of your 9x13 pan. I need about 1.5 cups of rotisserie chicken, and then I need a whole cup of spinach. 1 can of cream and chicken soup. We're just going to put right into there. And then we need some sour cream as well. So I did just about 1 cup of sour cream, and I'm just going to go ahead and give that a good little mix. I almost forgot the cheese. I need 1.5 cup of Monterey Jack cheese, or you can do like a Swiss, or you can do like a mozzarella cheese. I also need about 1 cup of this French fried onions, giving that a really good stir. All right, and then we're just going to place that mixture right on top of our biscuits, and then I just kind of layered them so that they're nice and even right on top of those biscuits. And then I'm going to add about another cup of these French fried onions just right on top of that. And I'm just showing you I have just a little bit left in this big like 8-ounce container. And then I'm going to put this in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. This is what it looks like. So good. This biscuits were so good with this. You guys, you can even do this with turkey if you guys have some like leftover turkey. So good. Such a delicious option when you have like a bunch of leftover like meats, like with the chicken and the turkey. Usually we have chicken and turkey for Thanksgiving, but this was a hit. My kids loved it. And it wasn't too spicy with like the Monterey Jack cheese either. So good. And then we actually just paired this with some homemade bread, but this would be really good with some type of vegetable, maybe some like asparagus or some corn or some green beans, something like that. But as you can see here, we just did some bread, and this is what it looks like. So good. You guys definitely have to try this meal. All right, and now I'm going to be making this cracked chicken casserole. So I'm going to need 6 to 8 slices of bacon. So I'm just going to go ahead and fry that up. All right, and then once that's done cooking, I'm going to go ahead and cook up 1.5 pounds of cubed up chicken until that is nice and cooked through. And then I'm just going to set that to the side once that's done. In a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add 1 cup of sour cream. And then I'm going to add most of our bacon. I'm just going to leave just a little bit so we can put that on top of our casserole. 1 ounce of ranch seasoning mix. 1 can of cream and chicken soup. And then I'm going to add half of this bag of hash browns. So we just need about 16 to 20 ounces of hash browns. And then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of sharp cheddar cheese to this dish as well. Once you have added all of those ingredients, then you're just going to give it a really good stir. And it's going to take you just a little bit just to get all of that combined. Once all of that's combined, we're going to go ahead and add in our chicken. And I just kind of did it the slow way, just adding a little bit at a time. My mixing bowl was getting very, very full, very, very fast. So it's getting a little bit harder to mix it, but you're just gonna go ahead and mix that all together. Once it's all mixed together, we're just gonna go ahead and put this in a 9x13 pan. And I definitely wanted to spray my 9x13 pan first, because this is one of those dishes that will definitely stick if you don't. Alright, so go ahead and add that mixture right at the very bottom of your pan, your casserole dish. Get that all spread out nice and even. Alright, and then we're just going to put the remaining of that bacon just right on top. Spread that out as best as we can, make that nice and even. And then we're also going to add just a little bit of cheese. So we need just about a cup to a cup and a half more. And then I'm going to bake this at 350 for about 30 minutes. This is what it came out to look like. So good. Definitely something that I have never tried before, but if you have just like some rotisserie chicken or some turkey or any type of chicken that you just want to cook up, this is a great meal to just kind of use a bunch of different things to make a delicious meal. I usually have hash browns in my freezer anyways, so this was something very simple and easy to make for me and my family. And then I just paired this with some green beans on the side. Oh, so delicious. My family loved this one. Okay, next we're going to be making these snowball cookies. So I need 1 stick of butter. I'm just going to place at the very bottom of my bowl. And then I'm also going to need 2 tablespoons as well with that butter. And then I have 1/3 cup of powdered sugar. We're just going to go ahead and give that a good mix. Make sure that your butter is nice and softened. Alright, and then we have 1 tablespoon of pure vanilla extract that we're going to put into these cookies as well. I have my kids helping me. And then we have just a little bit of salt that we're going to need to add, just a 1/2 teaspoon. Give that another good stir. And then we have 2 cups of flour we're going to add, giving that another good stir as well. Okay, and then this mixture is going to be a little bit on the crumbly side, so just keep that in mind. I have 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, 1/2 cup of some sprinkles, and then 1/2 cup of some white chocolate chips that we're going to be adding. And that is it. That's all that we're going to add, and we're just going to give that a really good stir, getting that well combined. And it took me forever because I thought it was kind of supposed to come together a little bit better, but it's more on the crumbly side, so you kind of have to work with it to kind of make it stick together. So you're going to set this to the side, and I just divvied these up onto my cookie sheet, and I cooked this in the oven at 350 for about 8 minutes. And then I just powder this with some powdered sugar just right on top to make it look more festive for Christmas time, because that's about the time that I made these. These were so good. My kids loved them, and they were just delicious. I love how cute that they look. Alright, and then the last one that we're going to make for this video is a tamale pie. This is one of my favorites. So I just need 1 pound of ground beef, and we're just going to ground that up until it is nice and cooked through. We're also going to drain off any excess grease. Once everything is cooked through, I'm just going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of garlic, giving that another good stir. And then we're gonna add 1 ounce of taco seasoning, 1 can of red enchilada sauce, 1 can of Rotel, 1 can of corn that's already been drained, 1 can of diced green chilies. Okay, and then we're just gonna give that a good stir, getting that well combined. And then we're just going to put that right in the bottom of our 9x13 pan, making sure that that is nice and even. And then I'm just gonna top this with some cheese. So I just did about a half of a cup. You can do between a half a cup and a whole cup of cheese, whatever your preference is. And then in a large mixing bowl, we're just going to make some Jiffy cornbread mix. So I need 1 egg, 1/3 cup of milk, and then our Jiffy mix, giving that a really good stir. We're just making this how it says to on the back of the box. The only exception is that we are going to be adding some sour cream. So I need about a half a cup of sour cream, giving that a really good stir. All right, and then once that is good and combined properly, we're just gonna put that right on top of our beef mixture. You wanna make sure that you're doing a nice even layer right on top. Right, and then that is it. We're gonna cook this in the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes. You just wanna make sure that that cornbread on top is nice and cooked through. That is it. I paired this with some Mexican rice and some tortilla chips to have some like salsa or some queso with. Oh, so good. This is a delicious and hearty meal. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing below. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.